Hi, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. There are some crazy things happening here at the Missouri Star, and one of them is this quilt behind me. I want to tell you a story about this. Years ago, a lot of years actually, when we lived out in California, we lived close to a military base, and there was a young man there who really missed his family, and he kind of adopted ours and enjoyed coming over and spending time with our family, and recently we reconnected with him. And he came out to the shop, and when he found out that we had a quilt shop, he wanted to try something. And we had this great new line of templates, these crazy quilt templates, and we were like, we're going to get him to test this and see if he can do it. So he actually used the templates, made this crazy quilt, and if he can do it, you can do it. So I'm going to show you how. The things you're going to need for this project are, you're going to need some scissors, a rotary cutter. You're going to need a ruler, that's a square ruler, that's the size you want your block to end up when you're done. I used an 8.5. And you're going to need a set of these templates. So to begin this block, you want to pick which size template you're going to use for the middle. We're going to put it on your scrap fabric or your square. I'm going to use a square. And we're going to go ahead and cut these. And basically you're just extending the angles. So you want to, go ahead and cut those follow the side of your template just off your square like that. And then we're going to finish this one up, and I can make 2 cuts right there. And so then you get a piece like this. Traditionally they just use these 5-sided pieces, scraps, whatever they had, and so we've just made it easy with the template. And then you're going to find scraps that you think will fit, and so this is where those little pieces are going to come in handy. So basically what we do is you're going to put right sides together, and again in quilting, remember, it's always 1/4 inch, but you're going to kind of want to fold this back and make sure that your angle will follow in the right direction, because you're going to trim this off, and you want to make sure that your piece is going to cover that. So let's go ahead and lay this on here, and we'll just go ahead and sew this down. And then we're going to go ahead and press this down, set that seam, and roll it back. And so then you're going to trim it up and get it ready for the next part. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay our ruler on there, and see, the ruler is just going to follow the edge of your center piece, and we'll cut that off. And you're going to get some really odd looking shapes to begin with, but eventually it'll get big enough that you can cut a square out of it. So here's this piece. So then we'll just go ahead and add the next piece on. And I'm just going to go in a clockwise manner. I'm just going to go, around it and keep adding the pieces on, and it'll just get bigger and bigger. So let me add one more here. There we go. And again, I'm just going to set that seam, and I'm going to roll that piece back. And so then we're going to trim. You trim every time before you add your next strip. You're going to trim. So again, now here is the edge of this angle. We just follow it and cut straight off. And then we're going to turn this. Let me scoot these things here. So then we're going to turn this, and we'll use that middle piece as our guide. We're going to go ahead and trim this off here. And you see, you'll just keep going around. So I've got some other ones here where I've done a little more. So here, this one, we've added one layer. Now I'm adding the second layer. And so I'll go ahead and add a second layer all the way around. And so on this one, on parts of it, I have 2 and 3. And you want to make sure that your middle piece stays in the center. So I'm going to need to add another piece over here. So let me see if I have a good size strip to put over here, because you can start with those little pieces, but then you need to start getting some longer strips. I'm just going to sew this one on. This is so fun. It's such a great way to use up all those little pieces and those scraps. This is a good stash buster quilt. All right, now let's iron this back. Now periodically what I do is I'll lay my piece out here, and I'll get the ruler that is the size I want the block to end up, and I'll set it in there to see if it'll fit. If I can make it work so that my center still, you know, my black piece is still in the center. And it looks like I may be able to get a square out of this. I'm a little short on one side. I can't seem to quite make it fit. And keep it in the center. Oh, see, I got a little piece poking out of here. So let's go ahead and trim this block and add one more strip. And then we'll have way enough room. Then all the little pieces you cut off, you can use again in another block. And so it just keeps it real scrappy. Let me get this one over here. And again, you just follow that line. Keep those angles going. You want this to be the crazy angles. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and add a strip over here. Let's see, 1, 2, we're at 2 all the way around. And remember on this too, you can use any size strips that you want, or you know, or scraps. You just keep those angles going so that you have some semblance of a circular motion going on. And then we're going to iron this open. Yeah, you do want to keep that iron handy, because you're going to want to iron, press those seams after each block. That is a really important part. Now see how odd this whole shape is getting so funny, but it's got to fit that square. All right, so let's lay our square on here and see if we can fit it in here now. Again, you just look, I'm just eyeballing this to make sure that the black piece stays in the center. And then we're just going to go ahead and square up this block, and we'll use our square to do that. There we go. And then, look at that. You have your first little crazy quilt square block. It's so cute. Now when I did my quilt over here, let me get some of these scraps out of the way. When I did my quilt over here, I separated the blocks by a sashing and kept the middle the same. On this one over here, it is just crazy. It's just wild and crazy. And I'm telling you, if a soldier from Texas can make this quilt, anybody can make this quilt. It's really easy. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Crazy quilt behind me. We got some crazy stuff going. No, let me go. I'm too crazy. Hang on. Too crazy.